What is good, everybody? We are live. This is the 11th episode of the Hangout. Welcome. I hope you like the new look. It's a new style that we've got going on. I hope you like it. I think it's a bit of an upgrade, if I do say so myself, from the previous Hangout. The previous Hangout layout. It was all a bit kind of just discombobulated and thrown together, but we've got a more official looking second podcast now. Hope you're all doing well, guys. It's going to be a fire show. We've got some amazing topics to discuss this evening. It's going to be a juicy one. But first things first, before we introduce the panel, let's just give everyone a shout out in the chat. We've got some awesome people in the chat tonight. It's lit. We've got Jamie Mather, my dude. Hey Jamie, hope you're doing well, buddy. Has your equipment arrived in the post yet? Let me know. If not, hoping it arrives soon. Courtesy of Doomsayer, an awesome guy. Journos Gaming, what's good? Ice Queen Gaming. Hey Don, great to see you. We've got OT, the legend himself, in the chat. He's going, let's go. Soldier for life. Wooly, have you tried Mount and Blade Bannerlord yet? I've never attempted it, brother. I've got the original on Steam. Never really got into that either. I think it needs a bit of concentration and a bit of time on my part to learn it all. And I will. I have seen it a few times and I am intrigued. So I will check that out. Get on the sticks, my dude. He's our VIP guest tonight. Looking forward to introducing him and hearing his takes. He's got some phenomenal takes. In fact, on this very YouTube channel, I've got a short that I created of Sticks preaching, and I mean preaching. He was converting the masses with this absolute beast of a kind of a rant about the narrative, kind of the common narrative that's been pushed this last 3 years about, I can't believe I have to buy quality games and it's not given to me for free on a subscription service. How evil and greedy of Sony. Well, he addressed that narrative and it was fire. So looking forward to introducing him on the show. We've got Jonathan Martinez, Jan Watkins, Striker 31. Your Discord's up. Yeah, I know, brother. It's a public Discord. You're able to join the Discord anytime. Just obviously not the voice chat, but if you want to join the Discord, the link is in the description below. We have Jonathan Martinez, Bender of Strings. He traded in his Xbox Series X today for a Switch OLED. Oh damn! Mario Kart, Metroid, Mario Odyssey. Tired of looking at that big black doorstop. Oh damn, bro, savage! Oh my days. Not Deku. Shout out to you, sir. Toolman. We've got Toolman55 bringing the tools. We've got David Faulkner, the absolute legend himself. He is a source of knowledge like no other. We really appreciate this mucker. Glad he's here. Josh Ayres, Dre Watson, Brian East. Oh, so many Chads, man. It's like Giga Chad. If Giga Chad was a chat, it would be this. We've got freaking Buck Roger, the OG. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Let's introduce the lit panel tonight. So let's first things first start with our VIP guest. We've got Sticks himself. And now, for those who don't know Sticks, I followed him on Twitter for a long time. He is a Chad, to say the least. He's got an extremely balanced opinion, because what he does, guys, is he chills, he smokes a bit of weed, and he thinks extremely deeply. And I mean thinks deeply. Like, he really, really considers things. He has a lot of stuff going on in his head where he's just piecing things together and breaking things apart and analysing the things that people say, and he observes, he listens, and he comes out with absolute nuggets absolute nugget. So it's an absolute privilege to have him on the show tonight. So Sticks, how you doing, brother? Oh shit. Oh guys, I'm so sorry. Right, I've just realised my desktop audio isn't coming through. 1 second. I will fix it immediately.
Okay.
Flipping heck. You also just neither of you just heard Retro giving me shit then as well, so that's good. You managed to avoid hearing that horse jockey giving me shit.
You love it.
Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm such a donut. Now, everybody can hear you now. Sticks, you were saying you can't live up to that introduction, but you smoke a lot of weed. So you're already halfway there. Carry on.
Yeah, so I can't live up to this great introduction that Wooly gave me. But you guys probably know me from Twitter trolling. A lot of that comes from the fact that I said like everything before. Like Wooly said, most of this is just, it's so old, and it's like why don't people see it, that I got tired of talking about it and started trolling, and that's where we're at. But thank you for having me on. Looking forward to the show. Shout out to the panel and the chat.
Oh man, I'm just happy you're here. Can we all just take a moment to appreciate also, guys, the GOAT itself? We've got EDF playing in the background, Earth Defense Force 5. It is the game of games. I shit you not. This is Game of the Year 2022, 2021, 2020 and 2019 all rolled into one ridiculous B-movie package. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope this sells you, because I've praised this game through the roof so many times, but I've never provided gameplay. So I thought, let's change that shit. Let's get gameplay on board so you can all see what I am talking about. I'm currently playing as an air raider, and I've just dropped huge ordnance on giant toads. Are they giant toads or giant ants? Some aliens or whatever. But yeah, it's great. So enjoy that. Sticks, pleasure you're here, brother. Thank you for being here. We've got Faulkner, the up the wall, drives me up the fucking wall, Australian financial business analyst who can take anyone to school and back. And I don't mean in the sexual way. I mean it strictly in the educational way.
This comes after you talking about dropping a large ordnance on toads.
I didn't say on toes. I said toads as in giant frogs. Giant frogs.
I appreciate it. Yeah, hi everyone. Great to be here. Lovely to be chatting with you all again. Your accent's getting worse, mate. I just want to put that out there. It needs a bit of work, but it's forgivable improve. Considering you've had about 2 hours sleep this week. So
yeah, facts. I will improve. I'll get better. A lot better.
A lot better.
Lovely javely. No, it's great that you're here, brother. What have you been playing, man?
Still working through Yakuza Like a Dragon, and a few of the Lego games with the son. What else have we been playing? Been mucking around with a couple of little indie games on the PC, helping the son out there, try and broaden his experience and tastes there. And yeah, he's starting to get into the RPG stuff, the isometric RPGs and turn-based stuff. So yeah, we're just mucking around a bit there with those. I will admit though, playing games on PC is a bit of a weird one for me. Keyboards and mouse is not much fun for me. Mm-hmm. I prefer controllers, but
same here, bro.
Each their own.
Mm-hmm. The only multiplayer games that I can play on PC are slow, methodical, tactical games like Squad, because Call of Duty and shit, I have no chance. I just get obliterated on a mouse and keyboard, bro. Because I've not got that ninja reflex and all that years of practice like Shroud has and all that lot.
Considered investing in aimbot.
Oh no! But look at Jack. Look at Jack Frags, bro. Get off this show. What are you talking about? Using hacks? No, hell no.
If you're gonna be playing on PC, I'm gonna need you to cheat.
Facts. It's facts, bro. You are against. The odds are against you on PC, innit?
I'll tell you really quickly something funny I saw in the shop last weekend. It was in our local game, EB Games, which is the equivalent of GameStop or whatever they call themselves now. And just having a look around with a few things with the Sun, and I noticed that there was a peripheral available for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, stuck right up in the back corner where you could hardly see it. And for a decent amount, you could get like a half a keyboard and a mouse. And I say like half a keyboard, like it literally looked like they cut a keyboard in half. And for $250 Australian, which is fucking stupid amount of money, for half a keyboard and a mouse, you could just plug it in and use it. Whereas lower on the shelf was a $49 Logitech mouse and keyboard bundle. I just thought it was hilarious,
bro.
Just hilarious.
The prices over there are ridiculous. It's basically like the equivalent of Japan now, isn't it? Like, people are shocked at how hard inflation has hit Japan, and it's like probably a similar. It's been for a long time a similar ratio, so to speak.
Far off. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's done its ups and downs, but yen's probably the strongest it's been for the Australian dollar as it's been in the last 5 years, or the last 3 years at least. But Japan's not really suffering too badly from inflation at the moment, like internally. Mm-hmm. It's not as bad as anywhere else. I mean, they're talking about 2.5%, 3% and getting stressed. That's about standard for us on a good year. So,
loving it.
Nothing anywhere like 8 or 9% where other places are in the continent. So, anyway.
Yeah. Well, glad that you're here, brother. Let's also intro my buddy OT. How you doing, fella? You good?
Hey, I'm good. Just been very busy. For me, work gets hectic towards December. So I haven't really... I've not finished Ragnarok. I've not finished The Last of Us remake. It's just been absolute madness. Yeah, so I'm hoping for December to be able to finish both.
I'm hoping for you, bro. I'm just tweeting this out. We are live. Let's go. The Hangout. Yeah, no, believe me, I can relate, OT. You know, it's been 5 days and I've only just managed to squeeze in 45 minutes of gameplay. I was playing a bit of God of War Ragnarok. Like, I've not been able to play in 5 days, and I managed to squeeze in 45 minutes just before the show. So, for real, bro, I can relate. It's tough when you're a dad and got family responsibility. I don't know how people are able to squeeze in more time. I'm really struggling. I feel guilty doing this podcast, to be honest, because my missus is looking after the little one whilst I'm doing it. It's like, honestly, like time is very, very tight now.
Yeah, it does, and especially like when the kid starts walking around and starts being able to sort of understand you a little bit better. Mm-hmm. They want to spend time with you. So by the time you're finished work, you want to give them, before you could just go straight into games, but now it's like you have to split it with the kid first, and so you just end up having very little time. So that's why I'm so keen on. I had to turn down a few jobs because I really just want to have a bit of time in December to really have for myself,
OT turning down jobs, a man in high demand, I tell you, flipping heck. Well, good for you, man. Clients. Good for you. Personal time is important. Family is important. Do what you got to do. Respect it, bro. Hats off to you. That right there, guys, is real man shit. Real man shit. Shout out to Josh Ayres. Got God of War Ragnarok Platinum the other day. Moving to Dragon Quest 11. good for you, man. Well done on the platinum. I'm not even fought Heimdall yet, so
Gotta get the wood.
yeah, like I am still far away. Jamie Mather says, how is it? Because I'm thinking of getting it for Christmas. God of War Ragnarok. Jamie, get that game. You will love it. Enjoy it. If you've played the 2018 one and you enjoyed that, get this one. I will prepare you though. We were having a bit of a chat before, me, Retro, and OT and Sticks, and we feel like the first half of the game is a lot slower than apparently it picks up in the second half. So it feels very much more of the same for the most part. But I've just like this, in the last playthrough that I did for 45 minutes, things were happening and I was like, holy shit, I really want to get back and continue playing this. So all I can think about is getting back on God of War Ragnarok right now. So the reward is there. I personally am starting to just focus on the main quest line now and focus less on the side content, because I just really want to know the story more and continue to reach these amazing story beats that are going on in the game. So, but yeah, enjoy God of War Ragnarok, brother. He's replaying the first one. What a chad. Yeah, let's intro my boy Retro. How you doing? You good?
Why are you leaving me last to introduce me, man? You getting on like
You're
Doom?
the last panel member to ever join the show. You deserve.
Don't give me that
shit. You got to work your way up the ladder, bro. You got to work your way up the ladder. No, I'm joking. You are, bro.
I don't like the answer I'm receiving. I quit.
It's literally just.
I'm playing, man. You know, I'm just playing.
Yeah,
I'm very well,
random.
bro.
You well?
I am
Good.
very well.
I'm so
I'll be
glad.
playing Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo and God of War. That's been my 2 games.
Why am I not surprised?
Yo, the new update just dropped, man. You should be on that.
You can sell your cars now, can't you?
Yeah,
Happy days.
yeah. I made about 4 million from selling my doubles and then spent it all immediately.
Gotta love it, bro. Gotta love it.
Oh, dude. How are you, though? How are you?
I'm all right, bro. I'm a little stressed today. It's not been the best of days. I've been a little vacant on Twitter, a little vacant altogether. It's just been one of them days where I had a really, really crazy week at work, like 6 full-on days, like 12-hour days, and hoping to squeeze in a bit of overtime because of the strikes going on. So needing the overtime to kind of, bring the money in. And but I just needed rest, and with a baby, rest isn't possible. You're like in the middle of the night feeding, and so I crashed and I slept in, and then me and the missus we slept in, and then kind of regretted it afterwards because the days are shorter, so you miss the daylight, and that can just kind of, honestly, I'm pretty sure so many people can relate to that. With the shorter days, you want to get the sunlight when it's there, but sometimes tiredness can just overtake you and you end up missing it, and it can leave you feeling a bit deflated.
Bro, yeah, there's times in the winter I don't see the sun. I go to work in the dark. I come home in the dark. I go to sleep in the dark. I wake up in the dark. You know what I mean? It's horrible, and you're right. It can get to you, man. It can really yeah, your mood changes, man.
Mental health is a big deal. So, yeah.
Very important.
So, guys,
Very
if you're struggling at this time of year, no, you are not alone. I struggle.
You gotta get that vitamin D, mate.
It's easy for you to say, you Aussie. You're stuck in the sun all the time. Like, a cold day for you is like 30 degrees Celsius. And I'm joking. You're right, though. It's mega important to get that vitamin D. 100%.
Just on the subject.
You what? Sorry.
So don't forget your wife needs it too.
Yeah, wife needs it too. Absolutely facts.
The family show. It's a family show.
Oh, bro, retro,
Everybody
stop
needs
right now.
vitamin D, man.
Stop right now. that is hilarious.
I
Wife
will,
does indeed
I
need
will,
vitamin D.
I will point out one of the first things that I did say to you, Wooly, when you announced that you and your wife were expecting, was that I'd tell you it's amazing what you'll be able to do on no sleep, and you will find a point in your days where you will be prioritizing sleep over something else.
It's true.
And I remember you sort of chuckled and said, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, gaming. It's like what's video gaming now? I have never heard of this term before. It's so alien to me.
I get up early on weekends. I don't sleep in. I get up early on weekends just to be able to have some time uninterrupted to do it. And I stay up late at night during the week if I'm not having to work. Occasionally I'll get some. I actually got excited the other day because I got an hour uninterrupted. First time in 3 months I got a whole hour uninterrupted gaming.
Bro.
That's why it takes me so long to get anything done.
I'm respecting you so much more now because I can finally relate.
It's not just me. Retro and Odie got the same problem.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting over that now. My kids are getting older, so I'm starting to have more and more free time because, it's uncool to hang around with daddy so much.
Mm-hmm. Big fact.
But, yeah. Well, that's true. Yes, that's true. That, yeah, they love me whenever they need that, man.
Shout out to 47. He says, did anyone hear what Jaffe said about Ragnarok 3 days ago? I don't listen to him with this exception. And what he said just confirms why I don't. I have no idea what he said, brother. I stopped listening to Jaffe quite a while back, namely because he spoke a little offensively of my podcast, and I felt a little offended. And I just thought, you know what? I respect your hustle, pal. I'm just gonna leave you to it. You're not kind of like the guy I thought you were. And I just thought, I'll leave you to do your thing. I'll respect your hustle, but I'm not interested. He says a lot of things that garner a lot of outrage, and
Clickbait.
There was a.
I don't want to insult the guy, but
I will. It's clickbait. He does it on purpose.
Yeah, facts. So I haven't heard what he says.
Look, to be fair though, that's a byproduct of the system that he's operating in. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Early David Jaffe was factual. Yes, it was opinionated, but it was opinion based on his experience and his knowledge and what he felt as an elder statesman of the whole gaming industry. As an elder statesman for what he'd done, and you could hear it in his conversations where people would call stuff out and go, no, that's not correct because of this, or that's not correct because of that, or this is my opinion on it. And then when there was a point in time where you could almost see it shift within the space of a week, he had a massive upkick in, and this was well after he had Corey Barlog on his show too. There was a bit of a change. There was a massive upkick in his subscriptions and a massive upkick in his viewership. And to maintain that, he had to sort of modify how he was presenting his show and what was in his show. And as a part of that modification, and again, respect the hustle, because you're going to make money on YouTube and social media. You can't just play it straight down the line. People get bored.
Yeah.
So as a byproduct of that, it must have some kind of drama to it, or it must have some kind of one side versus the other side to it. You could almost see in the space of a couple of weeks how the tone sort of shifted. And then as a byproduct of that, you've got what he's currently doing. Unfortunately, as part of that progressed, from my perspective, there were some comments that he made that were... I don't think he understood what the audience was going to do when he said it. But there's been some comments that he's made where... And this is one of the reasons why I don't particularly like people being... I shouldn't say I don't like them being under the influence. I don't like it when people don't accept their responsibilities and try and say, oh, well, I was, under the influence of this, or I was drunk, or I was high, or what, it's not my fault. Well, no. You chose to give up your control of what you were doing and saying. You still need to own it. And there's some things that he said when he's been high as a kite, where it's just like, can you actually hear what you're saying? Do you understand how the audience is going to react to this? And instead of apologizing most of the time, he doubles down because that just generates more clicks.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's doing that on purpose, whether he's doing it by accident, I don't know. I don't really profess to want to know.
It's definitely on purpose. You see, the thing with Jaffe is he's an elder statesman in gaming, right? But most of the people in gaming don't necessarily give him the reverence or respect that he deserves, because people in the industry know why he got kicked out of the industry, right? He's kind of a crazy old dude, right? So he realized when he wasn't getting, like, he's had a lot of people on his show in the past, but he started getting a lot of traction when he started coming on shows on the Crumb side, like King Thrash, Persona, and stuff like that. And then he started to basically realize that even though he wasn't going to get the huge industry recognition that he deserved, not deserved, but that he wanted, he would still get a lot of attention, because in our side of the industry, or in the gaming conversation, he's a big deal, or he's a much bigger deal than he is to, like, let's say, the Sacred Symbols podcast, or any of those, more industry based, like Young Yad has interest in what David Jaffe has to say, versus people on the Crumb side who will give him all this attention. And when he creates beefs on either side, you see how the fanboys come out in his defense, because he has some sort of a name there. So I think that's why he's really there, because he knows he can get more super chats and attention by appealing to the console war click side of things, versus actually doing work with integrity.
Yeah, and then that brings it perfectly back to the original comment I made with, it's a byproduct of the situation and the game that's there. So if he didn't need to clickbait, and he didn't need to basically, if he's chosen that as his career path forward, well, then that's great. That's how he makes his money. It's how he makes bank. Well, you've got to appease that algorithm, haven't you?
Yeah.
You got to get that click. But anyway, I won't.
And I got
a way of whether it's worth your integrity or not. Do you know what I mean? That's the long and short of it. Is the money worth your integrity?
Well, that's the thing. Everyone's got a price. If he's unwilling to, or unwanting to, or unable to secure the kind of job that he wants to do or is capable of doing at his age in the industry that he's trained to do it in, then his price will come down really quickly when he gets hungry. So
I can respect how he's created his channel, and like he's put a lot of work into it. I'm sure he gets help on the side now. He can pay for an editor and post editing and stuff, and I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous of anyone who has a post editor, I tell you. Well, he would save me so much time.
But do you think? Sorry, I don't mean to derail this conversation. But you think, like, you got Jaffe, and then you've got what's his name? Real Tech USA.
Oh yeah.
You've got Rich, and you've got a few others that have got a massive following, massive audiences. So clearly there is a demand for that type of content. Now that speaks highly, poorly, it doesn't matter. The fact that there is a market for that content, well, fair enough. All props to them if they want to pursue that. That's their choice, their decision. And I personally, I like his early stuff. When he changed, wasn't a fan. I've never really gelled with Rich or any of the other ones that propagate back and forth. Sensationalizing an issue that's not really an issue. But I think they just need to be mindful about what they're saying, because when they start criticizing individuals, they are criticizing. Sometimes they're criticizing individuals like us, who we have our own jobs, we have our own careers, we have our own lives. We do this for a bit of fun. We do this to share our conversations and what our thoughts are with like-minded people. And that's what a community is. It's a gathering of like-minded people who enjoy similar things. That's why we're here to do it. We don't rely on this to put food on the table. So anyway, I'm going to stop blabbering on.
No, you're absolute spitting facts, boss man. I couldn't agree more. By the way, guys, I've just rewound it a little bit. Just appreciate this clip coming up where you see an entire barrage of missiles. Here we go. Of missiles rain down on all the enemies. Each missile is targeting a specific enemy. Bro, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, this game is nuts.
You're lucky this is a kid's show, man.
Could I ask how, because we started talking about Jaffe, what were the comments that he made that even got us here? He said something about God of War.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're totally going off topic, aren't we? It was somebody in the chat, 47, I think it was, asked if we'd seen Jaffe's content, and it reinforced why he doesn't watch him anymore 3 days ago. 47's explained here. He says Jaffe called Ragnarok DLC again and said it's not a 10 out of 10, and he's not sure he will finish it. Also, he spoke about a 73% drop in sales in week 2 compared to week 1. Maybe that's because every motherfucker bought it. It sold 5.1 million in the first week. It sold. Put this into perspective, right? The Last of Us 2, the greatest debuting PlayStation game of all time, was 4 million. This completely eclipsed The Last of Us 2 sales debut week, and therefore a huge portion of people bought the game day one. So yeah, I mean, he can call it DLC if he wants. I think that's extremely insulting to the devs who worked 4 years on it. I wouldn't call it DLC. It's definitely similar in because it's a continuation. It feels like a continuation of the previous game, but that by no means makes it DLC. You know, no different to how God of War. He's one to talk. Didn't he make God of War 2 as well as God of War 1?
No.
Yeah, he's shitting on his own legacy.
Kari Barlog was number 2, I believe.
Was he? But he facilitated in it, didn't he? He assisted with God of War 2.
No, he was still one of the producers and stuff.
Would he call that DLC to God of War 1? I'm curious.
Yeah,
because
it's disingenuous,
because
isn't
God
it?
of War
It's
2,
a terrible argument.
It was grander, but I tell you what, it was more of the same as well. And that's no different to Ragnarok. It's grander in scope and scale in every way. And although the first half...
Can we start calling all follow-ups DLC then?
Yeah, I mean...
Gears 1, 2, 3, Halo 1, 2, 3, Gran Turismo 1, 2, 3, Forza 1, 2, 3. Are we going to start doing that? Because it's stupid.
Yeah, just chasing clickbait. Anyway, enough about that Jaffa cake, right? Enough about him. Let's move on.
And the sales drop is normal. Second week sales always drop.
Yeah.
Always.
Huge. People who don't buy it day one tend to wait for a sale.
It'll be exasperated more though because everybody who wanted it got it, and everybody who wasn't going to get it basically week 1 or week 2 is going to wait till Christmas and see if the bundles go on sale.
Yeah.
So
wait till Black Friday and you know, yeah, maybe Black Friday's just gone. I'm guessing people bought it then on sale. I don't know if it was on sale on Black Friday. I don't know.
No, it's not on sale. So the game's unlikely to go on sale until next year. But it's the bundle. But the bundle goes on sale for the digital only, most likely around Christmas time. So
makes sense.
And I think the nature of this generation. I mean, 5 million is a great start. I mean, the first one, or 2018, sold 20 million to the PS4 install base, but I do think that there's a lot of people who don't have PS5s yet who are not going to play that game until they get their PS5. And now that they're available, obviously you're going to see more sales trickle in, but I think that's going to be pretty consistent.
Well, we've seen that.
We saw that
we've seen that with the likes of Spider-Man. Every time there was a PlayStation drop around the world, Spider-Man and a couple of the other PS5 games kept coming back into the charts. So you definitely got a point there, man. Definitely.
Big facts.
When you're talking about the essentials, right? Those are going to be the ones that people are going to wait to get and play on the system. So it's going to definitely hit that same milestone as 2018. Probably more full price sales than 2018, because I know, there was a lot of like greatest hit sales for 2018, but I think this one is probably going to go selling at full price because a lot of people are going to get it with their console as the starter game. So
Sony's going to make PlayStation's going to make a big bank on that too, because what they were selling it for digitally with the bundles and on the store, a lot of the boxed ones weren't going at full price. Like the full price for the standard edition here in Australia was $129 Australian, but you could get it for less than $100. In some places, less than $90 brand new, if depending on where you went and bought it. So, and that again speaks to the power of physical over digital, which we could go into for days and days discussing that one. But there's some people went and bought it for like $80 Australian, which is 30 odd % less than what they were selling it on digital. So
yeah, facts.
But PlayStation already has the money for that when the retailer's selling it, so they're going to make. If that 5.1 million was the sell to customer and not the selling to store, fuck man, they're going to make some money.
Yeah. Sammy Odyssey, shout out to him. He says, we had him on the show the other week. It was a fantastic show. He said, God of War 2018 did 5 million in the first month, and Ragnarok did that in 5 days. That puts things into real perspective. He said, I was at Liverpool.
Was it 5 days or was it 3?
I'm not sure. It launched on...
Was it launched on Wednesday?
9th. Yeah, so the launch week, it would have been Wednesday.
Oh, did they say launch week? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Sammy Odyssey
they said
also
launch
says,
week, that's the first week.
I was at the Liverpool midnight launch for Ragnarok, and I haven't seen one like that since PS3 days, and that's big for UK. Yeah. Spitting facts. It's huge. And I will say this. I've not completed it yet, but I'm at the point now where Retro tells me, and I'm not going to give any spoilers here, even me, trust me, I'm not. Retro says that this is the point where the game goes ridiculous. Like, it goes on a much bigger scale than the previous game, and it blows that whole DLC narrative or more of the same narrative out the water, because they really go places, and I'm already seeing glimpses of that. Like, there was a moment, I'm not going to say anything, but there was like a transition in gameplay, and it was like seamless, and it was just a moment that I experienced tonight, and it was just like, whoa, that was nuts. That was amazing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to diving more into that game. I think I'm at that golden point now where it really brings home Ragnarok, if you know what I mean. Yeah, 47 says exactly, Wooly. Yeah, 47 agrees. So he's obviously knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, let's get on with the main topic, because I know Folky's a little light on time, and so is OT. Let's talk about... Wait for it. Doon. Round 2. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, by the way, guys, there's a giveaway tonight. We have 50 currency, the US dollar. We have $25 US, courtesy of Blah on Twitter. That's a really silly name, I know. Sorry, Blah. I hate to call your name silly, but it's a silly name. It's a great name, but it's a silly name. His handle is at HerWhatBB, so it's a reference of Death Stranding. HUH HerWhat WHAT BB. That's his handle on Twitter. He donated to the show a $25 gift voucher, and I've matched it, so £25 or $25 respectively on two. So there's two people who could win, 25 each. So one's definitely US, one's UK or US, depending on who wins. All you have to do, guys, is comment tonight on this show what your favorite indie is, your favorite indie game of all time, because we were paying a homage to indie games on the last show, and it's so that's all you have to do. Hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and comment what your favorite indie is, and then I'll rewatch through the live chat, and we'll pick a winner at random, and I'll take notes as well, who says it tonight. So yeah, but let's get on with the main topic. Jim versus Phil. Well, what am I talking about? Obviously, we're talking about this bad boy. I'm going to get the screen up. Let's full screen this. Ignore the worldwide company of gamers, guys. It's just for I've yet to get a full screen Hangout, but that's in the works. Jim Ryan says that Microsoft is a tech giant with a long history of dominating industries, and that the choices that gamers have today are very likely to disappear if this deal between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard goes ahead. So there's a lot of opinions on this, guys. I know that there's a lot of context that's being left out in Sony, in people's kind of rebuttals to what Jim said. They call Jim weak. OT made a fantastic video. I don't know if OT wants to have the mic here and explain what his video on Twitter was basically explaining about how Jim's a businessman and so's Phil. But go on, OT. I don't want to take the words out of your mouth.
Yeah. So basically, I was saying, because for a couple of months we've been seeing so much resistance from journalists and these fake characters like Destin. And unfortunately, why I made that video is because I think I saw Ryan also come up with this thing that Sony is acting like a victim. Mm-hmm. And I just feel that it's so ridiculous, because these people are hired for specific purposes. And I started off by saying that my lack of faith in Phil is not because of him going for this deal. Phil must do what's in the best interests of Microsoft, and what's in the best interests of Microsoft would be to get Activision to go and get EA, go and get Ubisoft. That is what Phil is meant to do. He's meant to go and try and push the envelope as far as he can, and when the regulatory bodies see it's too far, they will stop him. But we cannot say we lose respect for Phil because he's attempting. And when you look at the data, it is very clear why he must attempt. Satya had already asked him at the beginning of this generation, why are we still in this industry? Meaning things were not looking good. So this is their plan that they thought. To me, it sounds like a last-ditch effort. If this does not work, then I think Xbox may be changed forever. But the main thing is, Phil is allowed to go and try and buy these publishers. But you can't expect Jim, who's working for Sony and their shareholders, to sit back and just let this thing be. He is meant to be the guardian for Sony, so he can't go back to the shareholders and tell the shareholders that I respect Phil so much that I will not interfere with this process, even though we have seen Bethesda be bought for $7 billion, and then the next year it is Activision for $70 billion, and then they said this is not the last one, so maybe the Ubisoft is even looking a bit shaky, saying that they're up for talks. Maybe Ubisoft would have been the third one. By the time we get to Ubisoft, everybody would be saying this is too much. But that is not the thing. You're supposed to stop it before it's too much. So Jim is being proactive. And I think that when they're expecting him to do nothing, they're asking him to be impotent. And this is defeating. And I think really at the end of the day, when you're dealing with these kind of billions, you're dealing with a lot of marketing. There's a lot of corruption with media, because these guys cannot be this stupid. They're actually trying to tell Jim, be silent. Yet this is an industry-changing deal, and they want him to be silent. They cannot be this stupid. I believe they're actually doing it because they want him to lose. They are interested in Microsoft's marketing money or something like that, but there's something motivating these adults to pretend they don't understand business.
You know what, OT, you couldn't have articulated it better, fam, and you're absolutely spot on. I really hope we can clip all of that in under 2 minutes and post it on Twitter, because you couldn't be more right. Just to put that into perspective, guys, Microsoft are spending the equivalent of what could build over 15 of these floating cities. It's a concept from Saudi Arabia. Each cost $5 billion. Giant, monstrous floating turtles. Probably the biggest brick hand-built structures on the planet. They're not super yachts. They're basically like giant yachts, like bigger than super, they're like ridiculous. They can how each one can house over 60,000 residents, and that you could build over 15 of them with the money that Microsoft is spending to get Activision Blizzard. So just just
can
put that.
Can I put it into a different?
Go on, Fulton.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll put it into a different perspective, but he's nailed it on the head. And again, it comes back. We've spoken time and time again about this on this show, where the media, the gaming journalists, if you want to call them that, but the gaming media is so reliant on clicks and engagement that they'll just chase whatever they like. And Destin and a few of the others are really starting to irritate me. Remember how much shit that guy from the EU copped when he made his tweet, and everybody went nuts. Oh, it's a foregone. It's a conflict of interest. It's this, it's that. Yet his own, what was he, Ricardo or someone or other was his name. He clearly said, "Tweets are my own opinion," and people like Destin and Ryan McCaffrey and all these other supposed top-notch journalists went after it and said should be excluded. CMA shouldn't be doing this. It's conflicts of interest. It's all set up. Blah blah blah. Conspiracy theory. All the rest of it. But don't these same people who have these Twitter accounts go and start taking sides and flaming this console war stuff? When you call them out on it, they turn around and you call them out and saying, well, you're the head of this particular, or you're a senior manager at this particular place. Surely you see how badly this reflects on your workplace or the brand that you work for. And the first thing they do is turn around and go, no, it's a personal opinion. It's my own opinion, so you can't hold me to what I'm putting in my other side of it. And they're the ones that are supposed to have the journalistic integrity. Mm-hmm. The rest of us are entitled to a degree to have some kind of freedom in their opinions because we're not writing influential articles on it. But that's a side point. The issue to those floating cities, I want one of those cities, man. They look fucking awesome.
But it's not about how much they're spending. That's not the main concern. I know. I highlighted that just to give a bit of perspective, but I don't want people to think that's my main concern. It's not how much Microsoft is spending.
Well, again, put it into perspective. If those floating cities don't land with anybody, you remember the UN World Food Program said they could solve world hunger for $6 billion. Elon Musk called him out on it and said, "You show it to me, and I'll make it happen." Wow. $6 billion could solve world hunger. This deal could solve world hunger, according to the UN World Food Program, 11 times over, and still have some change. And they got mad at Elon for supposedly spending $44 billion to buy Twitter instead of solving world hunger. Why aren't people getting mad at Phil for blowing $68 billion into something he could solve world hunger 11 times over?
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
And again,
because all these parties are invested in this deal because Microsoft is a giant Western corporation. So the idea that a lot of these journalists are objective is completely untrue. Most of them are bought, and then if not completely outright bought, they're limited to some sort of an opinion just based on some sort of external partnership because the tentacles of Microsoft go so deep. I did videos on this like 2 years ago about how Microsoft was manufacturing consent. If you guys don't know the term manufacturing consent, it's very it's a little bit deeper, but basically it's using anything that they can to push people towards a certain agenda. Part of that was Game Pass. I said they were manufacturing consent around the value of gaming. And you could see that through the way they were using journalists. Of course, people have a very short memory, so they don't remember that 2 years ago, all of these journalists, the same ones calling Sony soft, were posting mass tweets talking about the value of Game Pass and how this is X and Y and why it was so good for the consumer. Mind you, nothing about Game Pass has changed in the last 2 years, but these tweets have stopped because the agenda towards most of that was pushing for deals like this, because again, the Game Pass thing is to get everybody on the side of wanting all this free content. It's pro-consumer, but in the actual effect of that, it's consolidation of everything towards one corporation, which is Microsoft. The thing that Jim Ryan said that was very telling, and again, I pitched it in that manufacturing consent video. If you guys want to go to my channel, check it out. It's that Microsoft is in fact, when they say they're going to limit the options, that's exactly what they're going to do, because historically, that is what Microsoft does. They put competitors out of business. Look up Netscape Navigator. Just look up various things that you used to be aware of or you used to see. I mean, even search engines like Yahoo and stuff, the way that these corporations tend to consolidate things, it's to buy their competition and then to control the industry. I mean, look at Facebook with social media, how they bought Instagram and all their valid competitors to situate it where basically the consumer has no options. Your data is going to get sold one way or another through the same companies. So Microsoft basically, even with Windows, once they own everything and they have no competitors, it becomes a licensed product. They stop selling it for you to own. It becomes something that you subscribe to, which is exactly what they're attempting to do with Game Pass. And if they own the world's largest IP as far as gaming, that sets a precedent for the community. Where the entire industry is going to lose money because there's a percentage of people who spend a lot of money who are now conditioned towards going to services for their content.
It's a big deal. Yeah, I tell you what, bro. Wow, freaking hell. That is well articulated. Carry on.
Yeah, it's just huge implications behind this deal that most people aren't seeing because they're invested on either side of their fanboy narrative. Even the PlayStation fans who are like, oh yeah, let Microsoft do it. It's going to enforce Sony to do better. Like, no. You're not looking at the actual bigger picture. Think about gaming revenue as a whole when this giant thing is taught into the umbrella. Even think about as a Sony paying your competitors who you weren't paying before, and now suddenly you're paying for a product that goes directly to the people who you're competing with. It just changes the entire landscape in a way that people are not actually telegraphing.
When Falky is chuckling in the background because you're saying something, it's a huge compliment, by the way. He's chuckling because he's like bang on, freaking nail on the head. And you're absolutely right.
Pretty much it.
You couldn't be more spot on. I've actually got the documents up right now because Aaron _ in the chat, shout out to him. He said, everybody's sick of Sony playing the victim. Are you going to address Sony's hypocrisy? And I just can't wait for Falky to say his piece because what hypocrisy, my dude? I think that the idea that Sony are doing what Xbox is doing and calling Xbox out for is an extreme stretch, to say the least. I'm looking forward to us digging down into why. But yeah, Falky.
Also,
go on. Sorry.
There's some interesting stuff, but just tying again because Microsoft is an evil corporation that should be stopped by any means. You know, that's not a gaming take. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
But there's some information that came out recently about how Call of Duty is not only a military recruiting tool, but it's basically a simulator. And then that Microsoft does supply components, and the way that they use even drones in the military today, they're controlling them with Xbox controllers. So the idea that they're gonna, basically give you this drone simulating software, if Microsoft winds up with their hands on Call of Duty, I think that there's just way deeper things going on that you guys we don't even know. It's just too much going on with that specific company and the things they do in the contracts and contacts that they have. Also, Bobby Kotick is a military contractor himself. It's all that. These things. He sits on panels for Raytheon, etc. It's all of that.
Freaking hell.
Has Aaron
Compost
put in
Smurf
that-
says Xbox drones
that
controlling
hypocrisy
drones. yeah, go for it.
Sorry, as our guy in the chat, Aaron, actually put through that item of hypocrisy that he wants addressed, or is he?
Yeah, Aaron, what exactly is the hypocrisy that you want addressing? What is Sony doing that's hypocritical to you? Is it buying mass IPs? Is it buying and consolidating mass IPs onto one ecosystem from locking out the open market? Preventing new entrants from having access to said IPs? Shout out to Zubitech, by the way. Hey Zubi, great that you're here, buddy. Feel free to hop on if you want. You know, there is always a chair with your name on it. Is that it? Is that the problem, or is it buying mass? Is it buying publishers, huge publishers? No, Bungie isn't a publisher. It's a self-published studio. They don't have a publisher over them.
Technically, they're an indie.
They're an indie. They're an independent, self-published studio.
You know what I find? This Aaron guy is just being ridiculous, because feelings being unfair is not how these regulatory boards work. You just don't go there and complain and then they stop a deal. So this thing that Sony is being unfair by going there, it doesn't make any sense. This thing is legal. You have to have valid reasons for them to even investigate or stop this deal. So if this deal gets stopped, it's not going to be stopped just because Jim complained. If Jim goes there with no real facts that favor his case, he will lose. So I don't know why
everybody keeps saying that Sony went and complained. They were asked questions as part of an investigation.
Exactly.
You
Google
know what I
was
mean?
also
Like,
on the same complaint.
yeah.
And Google was effectively put out of business, possibly by Microsoft, because they started to really pull out of the gaming side when Bethesda got bought. So
yeah, they saw an opportunity to partner up with those against this deal, and to add weight to their argument, they saw fit to nip Stadia in the bud, because of directly as a consequence of Microsoft's actions against Stadia, which they did commit direct actions against Stadia. Google had a deal with King. They had a deal with Activision Blizzard using Google's what's it called, what I'm talking about, the servers, Google servers for Activision Blizzard esports push in the industry, streaming capabilities, Google streaming capabilities. They had all of this partnership with Activision Blizzard and with King, and Microsoft basically pulled that rug right from under them in an aggressive attempt to shut their new entrant into the market, their new service, down. Both in 20, I'll get the tweet up. Will you carry on, Sticks and Folky and Retro? I'll get the tweet up that kind of breaks all this down.
Hey, David, I wanted to ask you a question. If I might be wrong on the numbers here, but if I remember correctly, through South America, we found out that Game Pass is making roughly, is it $2 billion? Revenue?
Yeah, just short of $2 billion.
Now, when I look at Sony's first-party lineup, and you count the studios, they are still less than Microsoft. But if I was to add how much does it cost to make games for all those studios, it's definitely over $1 billion. So I'm not sure where it'll end up, but something tells me it might even be close to $2 billion. So this, sorry, yes, could that be right? Sorry.
Well, look, it comes down to whether you accept the fact, and a lot of people don't, that Xbox and Microsoft as a whole tend to align costs in the areas in a different manner to what others would. So Game Pass is 10 to 15% of total gaming revenue, but yet Microsoft, I think we worked out the total gaming revenue, like this year, the last year was 1.8 to $2 billion or something like that was what Game Pass would have done. And this year it's trending lower because of the harsher business conditions for them. They're probably somewhere around $800 or $900 million so far to the half year mark, I think it was. So, and you think about it, they've got 23 studios. Game Pass doesn't subsidize all the studios, but if you think of it like, what does it Game Pass actually cost to run? So you've got to pay for all the games that aren't first parties that are going in there.
Mm-hmm.
You've then got... Hang on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yep.
All right. So you've got to pay for all the third-party games that are going in there, and there's a document that's part of this whole proceeding that says it could be from $1 million up to $100 million that they pay to put games in there. So, yeah, what the average is, 300 games that are third parties at an average of 10 million.
10 million.
So, you work that one out, and then you go. Sorry. Hang on.
Whilst you're getting
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, bro. Your mic cuts off occasionally. I don't know if...
Yeah, I know.
Trouble.
Sorry. It's having a fit at me because I've been on the phone for so long. So they've got to pay for the games that go in there. That's straight off the bat. Then they've got the personnel that's required to run it. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Running it off the Azure servers, running the whole cloud bit and piece, they don't necessarily count those costs in Xbox. Most of those costs are sitting over with Azure. Their main number one Microsoft's revenue generating segment. Most of the costs for Game Pass are sitting over there. They're not sitting in Game Pass. So when Phil says things like, "Oh, it's profitable for us," he's talking about it's profitable for Xbox because they're not taking most of the costs into account for it.
Mm-hmm.
But 300 games at say an average of $10 million each. Well, that's a couple of big bickies right there. And then you add all the other stuff on top of it to run and overhead costs and like that. They struggle. $2 billion is struggle to be break even. But if you bring back all those actual running costs that are in other segments into Game Pass, the thing's not even close.
Mm.
Yeah, because you see, my issue is when you're looking at what I've forgotten his name, Sean Layden said that Sony is already going towards 200 to 300 million for some of these games, and we are looking at so many studios. Of course, not every game is going to get 200 to 300 million, but when you add them up, Sony is spending possibly 2 billion or more just on games. So if Game Pass is bringing in 2 billion, and yet they are supposed to compete with Sony's first party lineup, at the same time they are paying for other people to put their games on the platform, that platform has running costs. I don't see how this can be profitable, especially if they try and ramp up to compete with Sony. And I think these guys in the regulatory board, they must be asking Microsoft, please show us how you will sustain such a big company like Activision, because you're taking away a massive amount of profits to put this on Game Pass. So I feel like these guys who are saying that Sony is being unfair, they should also question, if Microsoft gets this company and cannot sustain them, these people will lose their jobs. I feel like no one wants to look at the numbers, because that will guarantee the safety of these workers.
Big facts.
Well, they don't, and that's quite evident. And just indulge me for a few minutes here. I'm going to go on a little walk. It's quite evident in a lot of the information statement, the decision, and the two responses, one from Sony, one from Microsoft. And if you go and read them all, read them at your own leisure. It doesn't worry me. The main things that they're looking at is what's the opportunity, or what's the potential for this thing to go bad, and then what's the risk profile of it happening. And a lot of people go, Microsoft aren't going to do this, Microsoft aren't going to do that, and Sony's saying, well, they've got a history of doing this and a history of doing that. And there's documentation back and forth, and a lot of the stuff we're not seeing is being redacted from us is actually quite sensitive and quite impactful bits and pieces. Now, who argues the better in front of the regulators? It's still yet to be played out. No one really knows what a regulator's going to do because they're just that random at times with how they perceive something. But what is notable, and there's a couple of points I'll make here, and this touches on Odie and what he said in that short clip he put up. Jim Ryan's doing his job. Well, everyone says, oh, he had a contract for 3 years and he turned it down. And then, he had a whinge, which I wouldn't call it whinging, but I'd say he was doing what he was supposed to do. And then all of a sudden, there's a contract for 10 years. Well, that's a bit of a backtrack on Microsoft's part, isn't it? That's a win in itself, the fact that it went from 3 to 10 years an offering. But as part of that offering, there was a comment made about, well, we'll offer it to them in perpetuity as long as there's a PlayStation there to have it. That gives you an idea about what the real purpose behind what they're trying to do is. If PlayStation can have it and sell it at $70 plus all the DLC and all the rest of that stuff, but they can't put it into their PS Plus offering, and Xbox is able to offer it on console and PC and mobile for $1 a month, and people say, oh, but where does it say in the documents that? It doesn't have to say it in the documents because that's what they're doing at the moment. They have had $1 a month subscriptions for the last 5 years, constantly giving the damn thing
People
away.
People are denying that, but I can get a
$1
$1 deal right now with Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah. And this is for IP library that is a hell of a lot less and costing them a shit ton more than if they actually own the Activision stuff. And I don't mean just Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a flagship title. But they would be able to do it with World of Warcraft, Diablo, all those other ones that Activision and Blizzard and King own. All of a sudden, they can basically kill the competition. And I do mean that. That is a real risk. They can kill the competition by basically giving away some of the biggest IPs in history. And it's not just Sony that's going to cop it. You imagine what happens if those big PC games all of a sudden disappear from Steam. What's Steam backfilling them with? Some of those games are huge on Steam. The revenue it brings in for Steam is massive because it has to go out through their store. And yeah, Steam is a little less greedy than others, but they still take a big hit out of it. But all of a sudden you've got Game Pass is the only place you can get these things. All these Activision Blizzard games no longer go out through the usual channels. And they're basically giving it away. Well, it takes, not that it takes the customers away, but it takes the revenue stream away from the competitors. And a lot of people miss that. But they can just buy an Xbox and buy a PlayStation, Sony, and Steam, and all the others that Apple and Google will not get their revenue cuts out of those games anymore. And it's another thing that's overlooked. They're not arguing because they're trying to protect their image or their customer base. They're arguing because they're trying to protect losing a massive revenue stream. Because it doesn't cost them anything to do it, really. But that's Jim comes out and goes 3 years, 10-year deal, and that's a win straight up. But then when you think about it, what's better? A 10-year contract with an end date, and you've got to negotiate it, and you've got all these bits and clauses that you've got to deal with, and if there's any issues, you've got to take it to court and argue it in commercial courts, or push your case forward with a regulator, and it's not just the CMA. They've got 14 or 16 different regulators across the world that have to give an approval on this deal. Jim's only got to get one to agree with their side of the thing. If the CMA says the risk of this predatory behaviour and antitrust behaviour occurring is greater than what we're comfortable with allowing, not just now but in the future, and we choose to not allow this, then that's it. Or they say, we'll put these remedies in place to make sure that it can't happen or the risk is at an appetite level that we're comfortable with. Those remedies are enforceable by acts of legislation, which means if Microsoft was to break them, the CMA has the power to intervene. And the only way that Microsoft can argue back against it is to say the CMA did not have the authority to intervene, or that the CMA made errors in their application of their authority. They can't argue the fact and have those remedies thrown out. So, and that's enforceable in a high court. That's like, it's almost like saying if it's contracting law and you've got to enforce that, that's like going to your school principal and asking, hey, can you make sure this happens? Or going to your supervisor and saying, hey, can you make sure this happens? Versus the legislative stuff, which is like going to the commissioner of police and saying, they broke this law, you need to smack them hard on the head. The difference is night and day. If Jim has the ability to not just ensure that he's getting the content that they've got and making it painful for Microsoft to get their way, which is what he should be doing as an opposing point anyway, within the bounds that are legal. But he's also able to get it with legislation backing it, a legislative backed regulator to enforce it, rather than having to take it through multiple different courts in multiple different countries. And it doesn't cost them a cent to then get it enforced. How is Jim doing a bad job here?
Exactly.
What's the downside? What's the downside for him? There's no downside for him on this.
And journalists have just given up all integrity completely to blatantly pretend, like GOTY said, to blatantly pretend like they don't know this. Jim is doing what's best for everyone but Xbox right now. He's putting that priority number one.
Yeah. He's doing his job.
Exactly.
He's doing his job.
You can't.
You know, one of the things that I've been noticing, if you pay attention to the news outside of gaming, right now there's a lot of because of what's happening in Ukraine and inflation and energy crisis. Europe has had a lot of companies starting to migrate to America, and some of them are going to Eastern Europe because the energy prices are just out of control. Mm-hmm. And this has led to hostility between Europe and America. Right now, there's a bill that Biden has passed that is going to attract so many companies from Europe itself. And even Macron is busy saying that this is unfair. So the European leaders are very against some of the measures that have been taken. Because right now, oil and gas is being sold to Europe from America at 4 times the price. This means it's not fair for Europe. So there's a lot of anti-America sentiment starting to build up in Europe itself. And I think that's going to boil over into this deal itself. Because I think what's happening is if you start to get a gaming industry that is centered fully on America, where Microsoft can start to take in Bethesda, take in Activision, maybe next Ubisoft, one day EA. It's going to centralize this whole thing, and I wonder what that means for jobs in Europe. So Europe also has to look out for itself. And some people are saying, "Oh, Europe should not interfere," but they are thinking also for themselves. Mm-hmm. Jim is thinking for himself. So all these respective parties have to be very clever because it also affects where tax is going to go. So yeah. I think people are only thinking myopically and thinking that this is one big happy family because Phil keeps on talking about, we're doing this to protect gaming. It protects Microsoft. He doesn't share the profits with Sony. So I think Europe is looking at it at an individual basis. Sony is looking at it at an individual basis, and Microsoft is doing the same. And journalists need to stop playing this game where they're vilifying the opposing parties for looking out for themselves.
Yeah, big facts. I'll tell you what, this should have been a Worldwide Company Gamers podcast, not a hangout. Go on, sorry, Foggy.
So I just say, put it this way, the gaming media needs to stop thinking that they're Politico or that they're
Could you repeat
Fox
that, sorry,
or
Foggy?
CNN or whatever it is. So the gaming media need to stop pretending that they're like Politico or The Guardian or CNN or Fox News or wherever it is, taking sides in a political stoush, thinking that they know what the outcome's going to be because they look at the Twitter. The buzzword over here in the circles I operate in, economists, like senior economists that are really, really, really smart people. I was in 3 different meetings this week, and the most common word they're using at the moment is deglobalization. The risk of inflation getting out of control in one country in the central bank, and then it floods through the whole world because of the other central banks that are tied in with it, is causing massive headaches for a new generation of leaders. And like Odie just said, Macron's not interested in paying huge, and let's be honest here. Macron's a socialist. He's not an old school bloody conservative. He's a socialist, and he's getting the shits with other people that are taking a socialistic agenda. You can't rely on other countries to provide your energy if the other country controls the price at which they're selling it to you at. Mm-hmm. But a lot of European countries have no choice. Is why the EU was formed, was to try and stop that shit from happening. So they've got to get it from somewhere. And if America keeps this Americans overall mentality with a lot of their business world does, they're going to find themselves not being able to do a lot of stuff. Microsoft's already on the bad books in Europe. There's a lot of stuff that they have with their Azure programs that they're not allowed to do in Europe. So it's just...
They're becoming a nuisance, honestly. Like, I get the...
So America's torched all of their goodwill in the world.
Yeah.
They're doing it right now because they're trying to hold on to power, because they're seeing the emergence. They're seeing the way that Germany and Russia interact, and the rest of the world is kind of not needing America because we don't produce shit here. So they've been
honestly, I keep saying I'm moving to Eastern Europe. I'm moving to Scandinavia or wherever I can go, because I tell you, UK and US, they're pooped, bro. Like they're pooped. I just hope that UK doesn't go down with the ship that is like the US, so to speak, but I doubt it.
The awareness of UK citizens, the awareness of UK citizens might not allow them. American citizens are not aware of anything, so we're just willing, useful idiots as far as that. But UK citizens kind of know what's up.
Not all Americans, Americans, guys. Don't worry, we're not talking about you guys in the chat. But yeah, no,
no, it's okay. I live here, so I'm allowed to say it like that. You guys know what I mean.
Yeah, facts.
But Europeans will probably be able to stop some of that momentum and isolate more than that. But if you've seen The Handmaid's Tale, like we're kind of on the path to pure isolation here in America, because we're really burning up our goodwill by doing a lot of evil stuff to people so that we can control them.
What were you saying?
They're becoming wise to it.
Yeah, no, it's coming. I can see that being the case. Honestly, like. I think the extremist social agenda. I mean, I don't want to dive into this too much off topic, but kind of the social political kind of extremism that's rife today with the cancel culture, and it's kind of people are getting sick of it. Everyone's turning on Hollywood all of a sudden as well, and like, and I think people. It's only the journalists that are clearly hoping to stay in Microsoft's good books, because don't tell me they don't pay out dirty money, guys. I mean, you might call me a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, it was pretty much confirmed that not Kotaku, it was not Push Square, Polygon's lead basically head dictates every word that's in every review, no matter who does it. He has the final say, and he has invested interest in what is said in those reviews. Basically, it's saying he's bribed, and the reviews he puts out.
Machinima?
Yeah.
Machinima was running ad-free ads as too, not stating that the ads were ads basically and paid for and stuff like that.
Facts. So don't tell me that if freaking Polygon, who's barely relevant today, right, is kind of, they're more of a laughing stock now. They're like they've got a terrible kind of stigma in the gaming culture. But I mean, if they are bribed, how much more so are the big boys like IGN, right? Don't tell me Destin Legary isn't freaking. He's as much emotionally invested as he is financially in this, because of his personal YouTube channel. He gets far more revenue off Microsoft biased content than he would Sony's, because Sony doesn't operate the way that Microsoft does, paying personalities to do the advertising for them. So yeah, it all stinks. It all stinks. Go on, sorry, Sticks.
So, like, look at the media outlets that reported on this. Firstly, I mean, for the most part, gaming acquisitions don't make it into the mainstream. But when we saw this one, it was Bloomberg, it was CNBC, it was Forbes. Everybody was trying to project this deal. They were having Phil Spencer on to talk with them, the whole nine. So you can see how the media apparatus has a bias. But when you, again, look at the way complex financial investments in the States work, you're going to know that Bloomberg and Microsoft are partners. You're going to know that Forbes and Microsoft are partners. CNBC and Microsoft are partners. The MS in NBC, if nobody knows, stands for Microsoft. It's a partnership with the National Broadcasting Channel and
Holy
Microsoft. So half of the polarization that you even see in the world is projected through Microsoft. And obviously, if you look at that old document that they had about the Xbox and how they needed to get their name out there, so they were promoting console wars themselves in order to keep their name out there. It's pretty consistent with what they do politically in the States and kind of everywhere. It's the polarization model that has spread out. So even if it wasn't, Kotaku and IGN wanting to be on this clickbait polarization, they're getting that from the mainstream of media, which is also Microsoft.
I feel like this is one of the most important episodes we've had. It is such good content. Go on, Retro.
Well, you have a super chat you missed, man.
No, I was just about to read it out now.
Cool.
So sorry. But first of all, a massive thank you to the Game Night 123 for his $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Game Night. It's deeply appreciated. He put the dumb comments lately, like that I've lost massive respect for Sony. I know exactly who you're talking about there, brother. From that Windows Central person and also Ryan McCaffrey, MS can buy all these Japanese studios in the deal. If the deal doesn't go through, bro, tell me about it. The amount of dumb shit we're seeing these people who should know better saying, it just shows how invested they are in this console war with very little knowledge or perspective, right? And I just want to break down 2 examples, right, quick time. We had Aaron _ in the chat. He's getting a lot of attention tonight for his kind of polarizing comments. But so shout out to him. I respect your hustle, pal. He put most Activision games will be multiplat and on PlayStation. That's how Phil keeps telling you, bro. Don't be so freaking naive. Don't be so naive, because that is exactly Retro. That is what
you know why Starfield didn't come out this year? Because if they would have put it out as an exclusive, it would have messed up their entire case they were trying to build. So they had to also push it back. Also, they needed to starve these disgusting fanboys out so that they would be like Gollum, waiting for some precious games, and they would go fight for the deal. So they knew, hey, if we don't give them any games, that's why
Game Pass has been barren this year, apart from 1 or 2 little gems. They've cut back on the expenditure to limit their outgoings, so that they see that their profit loss isn't too egregious, so it doesn't look like it's antitrust.
To be honest, I wouldn't even say that. Did they really cut back? I mean, the Game Pass offerings have never been that damn great. To be honest with you, they've just been pulling the wool over people's eyes.
I think people were looking forward to Plague's Tale all year as the main release of the year. What else has there been, really?
Prior to that, it was outside of their first party games, which, arguable on the quality level anyways. But outside of that, the biggest release was Outriders. They ain't never had shit on there.
Oh, yeah, facts.
It's always been capped, but that's why the media, nothing changed about it.
I call it game premise, bro. I call it game premise instead of Game Pass.
One of the things that I feel is happening today, maybe this is a little bit outside of gaming, but I feel like there is a bit of negativity to people, certain types of characters. So like if you look at certain characters who display, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but certain traits which maybe we can call masculine.
Like stoic. Because Jim Ryan's quite stoic, isn't he? He's quite...
Yes, he's stoic, he's very direct. He'll tell you who's playing these old games. He'll tell you that I'm not going to force my employees to... Like that abortion issue. Jim Ryan said, I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. He made a position that let me say, a lot of people, let me say on the woke side, might not like how he talks. He's very direct, and he is his own person. He's
a
a bit
good
like
leader,
Andrew
bro.
Tate to some degree. So what happens is when you get somebody like that, this guy who made Days Gone, I've got
John
it,
Garvin.
John Garvin. He's also got that thing. He speaks his mind irrespective of whether you're going to like the answer or not. Phil Spencer is playing the media game very well. He never wants to say the wrong thing, even though he does the exact opposite of what he's saying. He never makes the mistake of being openly saying like, hey, you know what, I'm buying Activision because I don't want these games to ever be on PlayStation. But Jim is the kind of guy, he'll tell you, hey, Insomniac, we've bought it and we're keeping this thing
what these
exclusive.
people say is gospel, isn't it, OT? That's what it seems to be, like Aaron in the chat making out, that because Phil has said it, therefore it must be true. But I'm going to point your direction quickly to this this sheet of paper that Folky shared with us in the DMs, which is Sony's response to the CMA. Am I correct, Folky, in saying that?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. And it's phenomenal read. It's a phenomenal read. And as Folky aptly pointed out earlier on to us, that a lot of people are basically making bold, kind of flamboyant statements about it without any receipts or without any quotes or screenshots or context, trying to misuse it to point out that things are being said that aren't. Sony's response is extremely in-depth and extremely brutal, and it covers everything. They don't miss a trick, right? And I just want to point out this quote to you, Aaron, _ in the chat. They put, more generally, Microsoft's past conduct shows that its public utterances should be treated with extreme skepticism. The decision identifies 5 separate transactions: ZeniMax, Obsidian, In Exile, Ninja Theory, Compulsion, where Microsoft acquired game studios and they made their upcoming games exclusive to Xbox. This conduct occurred despite Microsoft's assurances to the public and regulators that it would not make ZeniMax content exclusive. Microsoft CEO of gaming, Phil Spencer, publicly explained the rationale for Microsoft's bait and switch as follows. This is about delivering great exclusive games for Xbox customers that ship on platforms where a Game Pass exists. That's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building. I mean, it could not be more clear than that. Whereas directly before, he insisted that this isn't about taking games away from anyone. We want more people to play games. I mean, so let's cut the bullshit. What Phil says has no weight in terms of, it must be true then. You know, we've seen it time and time again.
I've said a few times that Phil just needs to shut up so this deal can go through, because every time he opened his mouth in thinking that he's saying the right thing, he's just digging himself deeper and deeper, because he's giving the opponents of the deal more ammunition to fire back at. Because anytime he changes he takes a stance and then he changes it, straight away it's, he's changing his mind on the fly, so how can you trust what he's saying? But specifically to answer back to Aaron in the chat, and this is what annoys me about some individuals, they don't fucking listen. 1, the regulatory reviews don't go through a court process. They go through a legislative process. There's no, they lose a $70 billion deal in court, mate. They're not going to court over this. The CMA and the FTC and everybody else, most of them are not going to end up in court. They're going through a regulatory process. They're sitting in front of regulators. So there's no argument back and forth around, is this correct in contract law? Is that correct in contract? All that needs to happen here is if the regulators, the 4 people making this decision at the CMA, we'll use as the example, there's 4 people that are chairing this, they're going to make the decision. All they need to do is be uncomfortable enough with what Xbox could potentially do to those markets and industries that they're looking at, in terms of excluding new entrants and all the rest of it. And let's be honest here, if Microsoft gets this, they'll have massive mobile, massive PC, and massive console IPs. Control of those IPs, where they land and how they're distributed. what does that mean? Well, where's PlayStation sit in all that? They don't have a massive PC offering, and they are currently relying on Steam to get their PC games out, or Epic Game Store. They don't have much of a presence at all in mobile gaming, other than the half a dozen anime tie-in games that they currently have, and they're not really big outside of Japan anyway. So if PlayStation wanted to expand into those markets, guess what? That makes PlayStation a new entrant to that part of the market. So they've got every right to sit back and point out that this could be harmful to their entry, as it could with Steam. They don't currently have a subscription service. There's multiple other angles on those ones, but particularly it doesn't matter how it is perceived by what they say they will or won't do. It's the risk of it happening in the future. Not today, in the future. But as I said before, and I've explained it twice in this podcast already, and you just don't seem to be listening. If they apply the exact same business model that they've been using for the last 5 years on IP that are nowhere near as valuable as what they're looking at trying to buy, they apply the same business structure, business process, business strategy as to what they have for the last 5 years by having this Activision stuff to them, and with what they've constantly said, with making it exclusive in the Game Pass, straight away that's anti-trust and predatory behaviour, because it's excluding key market content from others, and by offering it for $1, doesn't matter if they put it on every other platform on the planet, by having it at such a subsidised low rate, it's making it untenable for other organisations to have it, to even pay for it. Because let's not forget,
Preach.
even though they sell it on their stores, they've still got to cough up a certain amount of money to have it on there. So, if you're going to sit there and say, the deal's going through, get over it, you don't know what you're talking about, and then carry on with this stuff like, the courts aren't going to be able to oppose it, it's still going to be on every platform. This argument that it's going to be on every platform is not the point that they're looking at. It could be on every platform on the planet. The point that they're looking at, which everybody seems to not be able to understand, is what happens if you apply their current business model to what they're talking about doing, and what's the potential end result. And does that potential end result sit in a risk profile that we're comfortable with within the UK, for example, as we're talking here? Is that going to cause a growth in the market, or is it going to cause a retraction in the market? Does it put jobs at risk? Does it put revenues at risk? Does it put taxes at risk? Does it put the market at risk of not progressing? Is it harmful to the market? Could it be harmful to the market? And if the answer is yes to any one of those things, the CMA has two options. One, put remedies in place, or two, can the deal. If they can the deal, that's simple. If they put remedies in place, which are enforceable by Parliament acts of law, by the way, not just going to court, if they put remedies in place that basically say, well, we'll let the deal go through if you put all the Activision Blizzard King content must be available across all platforms, and it must be available across all streaming services, and you can't undercut the price compared to others, straight away that business deal makes zero fucking sense for Microsoft.
Facts.
If it makes zero business sense for Microsoft, then Phil's got to go back to the board of directors and the shareholders and try and explain why they're going to spend $70 billion to achieve fuck all.
Sorry. I fucking love you,
that's the thing
Funky.
about all of this.
Mic drop.
Whenever we talk about this for the past 2 years, these acquisitions, nobody ever thinks, Microsoft needs to make that money back. They believe that they can just go to their shareholders and explain to them, no, look, for our fans,
we're rich.
We're going to give them everything. No, just liquidate the whole company. We need Xbox fans to have the best. That's not how any business works. But these dudes sincerely believe, hey, they're just doing it all. They never need to recoup that $7 or $80 billion that they've spent on video games because they love us so much. Phil cares about me, because he responded to my tweet.
And they think that the CMA and stuff have absolutely no power, but they actually made Facebook basically spin off the company they'd already bought at one point. They literally made Facebook give back a company, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That is actually the type of pool they have. Yeah. If you look it up, you'll see. I can't remember what type of company it was, but they literally ordered Facebook to basically resell it. As in, you know, the deal had to be undone, and that was after the acquisition went through.
That's crazy.
So the CMA
just want to, before you carry on, Folky, just want to read out Game Night 123's $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Game Night. Another great quote from Phil in 2017. I don't want to show things that are 2 to 3 years out. Looks at Fable, Perfect Dark, Hellblade 2. Yeah. Oof. Yep. Contraband. You know, the list goes on. Carry on. Sorry. Thank you again, Game Night.
Thanks, Ray.
Another famous quote from Phil: "We hear you, and we understand, and we're working to improve."
Yeah, I love it.
Phil Spencer.
Thanks.
Yeah, but improvement might mean that instead of it being, let's use Elder Scrolls 6 for an example. Originally, it was, we won't start that until we finish until Starfield's launched. And now they're saying, Elder Scrolls 6 might not be as big as Elder Scrolls 5. It might just be a mid-tier game where we've had to cut back on some stuff to get it out to you sooner. That's an improvement in time frame. It doesn't make it an improvement in the game. So, anyway, I'll shoot in a minute, but I just wanted to point out, for those that are actually paying attention, and most people that on gaming media that make up 4/5 the fuck all of the whole community player base, that think their opinions matter for everyone else. The CMA last week announced that published last week that they're doing an investigation into web browsers across smartphones and social media and all the rest of that, which is basically putting Google and Apple in the crosshairs around the way that they are acting and behaving with how their lack of improvement in their technology and forcing people to go through their app stores is probably a better way of putting it, is stifling the ability of others to make better technology, right? And the CMA is entitled to do an investigation into this, but what will come out of it is something probably along the lines of they've got to either make massive improvements in their offerings, or they've got to give discounts, or they've got to be, basically, they'll get told that you guys can't force people to go through your app store if they want to make, open source apps, then you've got to provide open source apps. Now, what will that do to Apple versus Google? Google's on Android and you can get around that anyway, but it might mean that Apple's going to have a massive fight on its hands. But who's sitting on the sidelines who've already said, we want to make our own app store and be able to provide it across all these different platforms? Microsoft has said time and time again in the last 12 months that this ABK deal is to do with mobile gaming and cloud gaming, and we want to put our own storefront together and we want to be able to do X, Y, Z. So do you think there's a bit of a catch-22 here for Microsoft where the CMA is doing a great job on one hand for them, and the CMA is killing them on the other hand? Like, they're boxing themselves in the harder they argue this thing. And they're not being forthcoming with any real, I shouldn't say evidence because it's not the right word, they haven't been forthcoming with any real commentary around what a remedy would look like, or how are they going to make sure that this can get through for their shareholders, because that's a lot of money to bet on something that's a maybe. And whether it goes through or not, it's chalk and cheese, but it'll always come down to that crux of point 2 and point 3. How does this deal impact the markets that are specifically for CMA? How will it impact those markets? And you look at the stuff that's been published, like a great example. Everyone says, if Phil's said it a few times, if people want to play exclusive games that are exclusive on Xbox, we'll put Game Pass. PlayStation should allow Game Pass on PlayStation. And item 40 of point of response TOH2 in that Sony document was they keep saying that, but yet they won't allow PS Plus on Xbox.
Yeah, why is that? Well, I wonder why.
Why is that? Well, if that comment's been made, that conversation has happened at some point. Yet the media decide to go and say, Jim's having a hissy fit because of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Why aren't you guys grilling Microsoft about not allowing PlayStation Plus to be on their consoles? Because then they'd get all those excellent PlayStation games.
Yeah, that's a genius point, and it is there in the quote. Sorry, OT, do you have to go, brother?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got to go, but I just wanted to make one more point. You know, Ryan McCaffrey was saying that if Microsoft don't get this deal approved, that they could spend that 70 billion on a lot of other things. But you know what?
Well, no, you're going to take 3 billion away. They have to pay Activision if the deal doesn't go through. You have to take that 3 billion away.
Oh, but what I think these guys don't understand, it's if you look at why Elon Musk bought Twitter for 44 billion, it was already established. So if you're going to take 44 billion, you're not going to risk it on new things. So you'd rather spend it on something like Twitter, improve it, and hopefully in a number of years you'll make your money back. These people are expecting Microsoft to now say, this 70 billion which we're going to take on an established franchise that is making a lot of money, let's now risk it with new studios, new IPs, and things like that. I don't think the shareholders will agree. There was a bit of certainty with Call of Duty and Activision. So these people are talking from an ignorant business standpoint. That 70 billion, people will ask, what are you investing it in? If it's not Activision, most likely, even their own shareholders will be like, take back that money. I don't want to spend it because now I'm not certain this is going to come through as a profitable venture. Even still, this Activision thing I don't think was going to be profitable at the end of the day. But they will not just automatically spend 70 billion on everything else that the media is saying they could do. I don't think that's how the business is going to work at the end of the day. Yeah. Okay, guys.
So it doesn't work like that.
Yes, that's what I was saying. But if you look at Ryan McCaffrey, it's like, oh, they'll go and buy this, they'll go and do that, they'll spend money on all these other things. The thing is, Xbox is already bleeding. Game Pass is stalling. Their profit margins are minimal. You can't spend 70 billion irrationally and think it's going to make money. But these guys act like, oh, the money is infinite and there's no protocol behind it. So it's very odd to see journalists speak like that.
And all that does is feed the issue that they're investigating. How is it sustainable? It's being propped up. Well, that means it's not sustainable if it's being propped up. Oh, yeah, but it's part of a broader segment that is profitable. But we're not looking at a broader segment within one business. We're looking at a particular market segment that business operates in. And like you say, Ryan McCaffrey makes his comment, oh, they'll just take the money and spend it elsewhere. I can guarantee you that is not how those businesses work. Multi-corporates like that have got hundreds of projects lined up, ready to go at the drop of a hat when they say, yes, this is the funding for it. Go forth and do it. If this deal shows any sign of being shaky, they won't wait until they get all the answers as no. They'll pull the pin on it and move to the next thing because it's costing them money to not invest in the next thing. And those business cases up to wazoo. The guys that run Azure are screaming for more infrastructure. And they're going to go and spend the money there because Azure makes growth, 30-40% growth, quarter on quarter in its revenue like clockwork. And its expenditure is only going up because they need to upgrade their technology and their hardware. That's where I would be telling them to invest it if I was sitting in their analytics. Don't waste your money on something like this because it's only going to cause you heartache for the next 12 months. Half these things won't even get a decision until the middle of next year. Good luck closing the deal by June. But that you hit the nail on the head, Odie. You just banged it right on the head there.
Yeah. No, I think all of you are hitting it on the head right now, to be honest. I mean, it's been one of the most amazing shows for quite some time for me. Like, personally, I mean, we've had some banger shows recently, but this has been phenomenal. OT, I know you got to go, brother. Give us your handle or tell us where we can find you. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us. We've missed you. We know you've been busy recently, so thanks for being on.
Thanks. Man, you know me, I forget my handle, man.
But you need to change your handle, OT. Just look for a big brown bald head. When you type in OT on Twitter, yes. And you'll find OT.
Or just follow Wooly and then you'll see me eventually. Yeah. But it was fun today, and hopefully also again in December. I'll be back. We have some fun because I'll be a bit more free in December.
Yeah, we've got some a special guest with us December the 10th, so Hopefully you can make that, but if not, don't worry. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. 10th is my buddy's wedding, but we'll see. No, I might be able because I might come back in time. Yeah.
All right, my brother.
Yeah, but I think I'll be able to make it after the wedding.
OT, always a pleasure, mate. I'll catch you soon. Bye, brother. Thank you.
Take care, bro.
What a legend. What a legend. Folky.
I hate to be a pain.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll give you one more point and then I've got to scoot. And it feeds back on to what Odie was saying about Ryan McCaffrey and everybody else who says, Sony's going to be sorry because they're going to have all this money to go and do X, Y, Z, and they'll just buy up all the Japanese ones. All that does is reinforce to the broader community, the broader observers of this whole thing, when they carry on like that, it shows they've got absolutely zero concept around how these regulatory things work and what laws and regulations are applicable elsewhere outside of most of the people making this comment in the US. If they can't get Activision deal through because of issues around control of IP, what makes you think that the Japanese government and regulators is going to approve it? What makes you think that the European Commission is going to approve it if you start going for others that it is? And it's totally different with this one because it's a listed company. Bethesda was a private company. Bungie was a private company acquired by PlayStation. Most of the things that PlayStation bought up private companies. They're not going after publicly traded companies on major stock exchanges, and they're not going after major multiple IP publishers. Mm-hmm. And everyone keeps saying, but PlayStation bought this and PlayStation's bought that. They're not the same. And you look ignorant when you say that, and it's even worse when you say, but they'll just go and buy all these other ones out from underneath Sony. Don't you think there's contracts in place? Don't you think that Sony's is already hedging off against this stuff? More to the point, do you understand how hard it is for a foreign company to buy something in Japan or in Europe at the moment? Good luck doing that, because I guarantee you won't get the signatures on it, especially Microsoft won't get the signatures on it. And you can claim that that's unfair and unbiased and all the rest of it, all you like. It doesn't matter a fuck, because it's the regulators and the governments that get the final say, not the court system in America. So, good luck to you if that's what you think's going to happen, because you're going to be sadly wrong.
I can't wait to screen record that and share it with all the disingenuous twonks, including professional journalists who should know better, who are saying these things.
You're wasting your time if you did that, because they don't care. They do it for the clicks, same as Jeffy was saying earlier.
But you know what I love, Folky, is that here we have, a person, a professional financial advisor and analyst, as well as others. Like, here is where accurate information is given, and we're getting a real perspective here that breaks things down. I just want to, before you go, Folky, I want to read your point that you summed up perfectly the other day in the chat that I shared on Twitter, and you said this: the key point to all of this is control of IP. Third-party exclusive deals do not, I repeat, do not alter the control of that IP, and the original owner has the capability to take that IP to whatever platforms they see fit. This deal takes control of a huge number of influential IP under the control of a company who has a history of market manipulation, changing its mind, and intimidating practices. The risk to jobs and industry advancement is huge. The argument that PlayStation does it all the time is null and void for what the regulators are looking at, especially given it's not primarily focused on the console space. And I just wanted to say, bro, you just hit the nail on the head with that. And there is only one company out of PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo who are trying to mass assimilate vast amounts of third-party IP and control those IP and lock those IP away to one exclusive platform, i.e. the Xbox ecosystem. And they've done it with Bethesda. They're going to do it with Activision. It's only a matter of time if this deal goes through without any stipulations. And that's going to, like you said, Folky, have a huge impact on the market. And it's not just PlayStation. PlayStation are just a fraction of the big issue here. So yeah,
it'll have ramifications across Apple, Google, Steam, Epic, heaps of them, and clearly outline. I mean, people that sit back and just read the headline grabs or the little screenshots that are being doctored up with commentary, go and actually read the whole thing. It's not that technical that the average Joe can't understand what the CMA is looking at. Go and read it. Not difficult.
Facts. I've read it, and it's fantastic.
It's to the points that I made. If they go and get all this stuff and they put it in Game Pass, and they have to do one of two things: they change their business model, they got to charge full price, and what's adequate for it to run it. Well, that would mean Game Pass is probably going to need $30 a month. They can't do the $1 deals and subsidise it. They'd have to prove that it's A, sustainable, and then B, profitable to maintain it going forward as a part of their broader piece. Well, then they've got to have it on all platforms. They've got to have it on all streaming services, and the streaming service at Game Pass will have to increase its price to cover that. It's just a simple economic fact. But if they don't do that, if they do that, then they're pretty much going to be borderline competitive with the other offerings. But it doesn't give them enough advantage to make it a sensible business decision. From most people that are on the outside looking in, if that's the proposition they go with. The other side to it is they maintain this undercutting strategy, which they've been doing for ages. As I said, for the fourth time, they've been doing it with much less valuable IP and trying to achieve it that way. What makes you think they won't do it with valuable IP? This undercutting practice will then lead to a deterioration of the segment. And it's very clear in the information statement and the decision papers that the CMA's put forth exactly what they're looking at. And Microsoft needs to argue back against that. And the main point that was made in that, which PlayStation and Sony and a couple of others have made comment to, is putting it exclusively in there and making it available extremely cheap. Even Aaron said in his chat in this show, it's PlayStation, all these games, but the Game Pass value just makes it so much better. Oh, well, if you take it from $1 a month or $15 a month and make it $30 a month, which is the better value? Oh, the value proposition disappears. So what's the fucking point of this whole acquisition then? The whole point of this acquisition for Microsoft is to do what? And when you can figure that one out, and as I've said in those few statements, that's the implications of what they're currently doing. Their current strategy would not have to shift, and they would get a result like that. They're not making major changes, so how the hell is Microsoft going to argue against that? They've had 2 cracks at it with the CMA already in their submissions and haven't addressed that one issue at all.
Couldn't be more spot on, bro.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I got to scoot.
Yeah, take care, Folky. Thank you for an excellent show. Really appreciate it.
No worries. For the record, I do need to say, for the record, I don't profess to know whether this thing will or won't go through, because regulators are crazy. They make weird decisions and they never tell us why they make the decision. But as I said earlier, there's 16 regulators looking at this. 2 of them have said yes very quickly. 14 of them are still investigating. China has indicated that it's likely to say no, which will make a massive impact on the cloud streaming and the mobile gaming piece around this. So if the UK, the US, Canada, Australia and the EU, one of those comes back and says no, because they're all talking to each other, if you read how the CMA operates, you'll see that all the OECDs talk to each other on this. So it's no coincidence that once the CMA goes into phase 2 and Europe goes into phase 2, that the FTC says we're prepping a lawsuit. They all talk to each other, and that's how the thing operates. I only need one. They only need one to say, no, this is not in the best interest of our jurisdiction, and the thing is pretty much dead. Anyway, I'll leave you with that thought.
That's an exciting thought, brother. Thank you, Folky. Appreciate you, as always. You can follow Folky at David, at Folky on 87 on Twitter. So FAULKIE 87. Definitely give that man a follow. He's a very he's one of the essential follows that I advocate. You know, he's right up there with Zubitech in my opinion, and as a critical source of accurate perspective, critical source of perspective and information on all things.
I mean, he's all right, like he's all right.
He's all right.
Very kind words.
No, I mean it.
All
I mean
right.
it. So thank you, brother. Take care, Folky. Until next time.
Take care,
Thanks,
bro.
lads. Talk to you soon. See ya.
Bye.
Man, could you imagine? This is very hypothetical. Very hypothetical. If he ran his own podcast, wouldn't that be something? Freaking hell, that would be amazing.
I'd tune in.
So would I, bro. I'd tune in.
Oh, here. Shout out to Big Mofo Gaming. He's one of my best friends.
Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
it's good to see him. He's currently addicted to dreams. He's kind of got into that community and stuff, so he's finding his way on Twitter and stuff. So if you want to see some dream content and stuff, you should probably give him a follow.
I'm jealous, bro. Like, how do you get into dreams? Man, it's like...
I'm scared too, man, because I know I'll get addicted.
I just don't understand it, bro. I just don't understand. It's too complicated for me. It really is.
Oh, Sammy's giving me shit in the chat. That's because he wants this. He knows he's going to get this smoke in Tekken.
Yeah, bro. He says I can confirm Folky is good. Yeah, facts. He really is. That was epic damage control. Compa Smurf, you goddamn right it was. It was epic. Epic of epic proportions. But yeah, guys, just remember the giveaway. For those who haven't yet commented, I know CJ Gamer UK has commented, and a few others. Comment your favourite indie game of all time, and make sure you're subscribed, and you could win a PSN code tonight. We'll be announcing the winners shortly, so do that.
He's not winning.
Do I love it. Yeah. We had a thank you again to BB on Twitter. It's such a weird name to say, for his $25 PSN voucher that he's donated to the show. I've matched that, so there's $50 up for grabs, or $25 voucher for one and £25 for the other, should I say, or it could be dollars depending on who wins. Either way, a lucky winner or two to be chosen tonight. So yeah, just comment your favourite indie game. That's all it takes, and you can bet your bottom dollar we will have a potential couple of winners on the show tonight. So exciting. I'm sure you agree. So Jamie Mather put, is it Uncharted an indie game? No, Jamie. So to explain to you, Jamie, what an indie game is. So long story short, indie game means independent studio developed game. So an independent studio is someone who isn't owned by a publisher. They're a studio who either self-publishes their own game, or they have to request a publisher to take their game on and publish their game for them, because they haven't got the funds to do it themselves. So independent studios are indies, whereas Uncharted was made by Naughty Dog, and they're owned by Sony, so they're not independent, if that makes sense. But yeah, basically, yeah, that's the best way I can explain it. But I love the fact that Uncharted's your favourite game, bro. It is an amazing franchise. I love that franchise so much. So yeah, that guys, that was an amazing rant from all of you. I don't know if anyone has any more to add about this, the whole Jim Ryan versus Phil Spencer, the CMA, Sony's response.
No, I forgot all my previous contributions. I will say that like the fanboy journalists are saying, where they're gonna pick up their ball and run to Japan. It's incredibly stupid to think that Western regulators would deny such a deal, and then Japanese regulators would turn around and approve something like that.
They've
just defies all logic.
They've completely exposed themselves as knowing fuck all, to say the very least. They have no credibility as journalists.
I don't read their shit, to be honest.
Yeah, because either they're extremely uninformed and irresponsible as journalists because they're uninformed, or they know exactly what they're doing. They know that they're bullshitting, but they're being bribed, and either way they're dirty. So no, I agree with you, guys. That topic went on a lot longer than I expected, and I hate to do this, but we're gonna have to cut a few topics out tonight because I've got my baby, my wife needs sleep. There's a lot going down at the moment in the house of Wooly. So I don't know if we want to talk about briefly how are we enjoying God of War and what our personal game of the year is so far. Try not to spoil too much if you want to talk about that, and then we'll
Alright, I got this.
We'll do the
God of
giveaway.
War, awesome game. Play it, buy it, enjoy it. It's an awesome ride. Game of the year, Gran Turismo 7. Brilliant game at launch, and it's just got better since with monthly updates for free and DLC. So that's my game of the year. Oh yeah, there'll be no spoilers, big mofo. Don't worry about that, man.
I love it. What about you, Sticks?
I haven't gotten around to God of War yet. I played through Elden Ring. It's definitely not the game of the year. But my game of the year is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I feel like any game that makes me cry multiple times throughout is high on the list. And that game was truly an experience, especially if you love like anime and if you see the world on a deeper level. It is quite a game that resonates. So
the only reason why I want a Nintendo Switch is for the Xenoblade series. Honestly, like I need to download Cemu emulator. I've still not downloaded it yet because there's a little. Last time I tried, there was a complication and I couldn't get it running. I used to have it on my previous PC, so it is something I want to do. But I need a Switch, bro. Like I need to get a Switch. I had one ages ago. But I fell on hard times. This was years ago, like 5 years ago, and I had to sell it just to make ends meet for the month. And I've just never got around to getting another one. So it's on the cards. One day I will get one.
Yeah, if you're a lover of random JRPGs, it's definitely something that you gotta have because there's a few exclusive ones there. And Josh Ayers asks if you have to play Xenoblade 1 and 2. You definitely do not. I have not played Xenoblade 2. I have it, but I haven't gotten around to it because they're all hundreds of hours long. I did play the first one. As far as all three games, though, there's like overlying themes, which is kind of like the humanity or the lives of humanity being played with by a higher being. So that's like the overall thing, but it's not conveyed in the same way every time. It's always, people find out that their purpose is just being misused by a deity, basically. But it's always some different way of finding that. So it's a dope franchise. I'll get around to 2, but you definitely don't need to play them all.
Yeah,
it's like a Final Fantasy, to be honest with you. It's like an overlying kind of thing, world building that is similar, but as far as the stories, they're completely unrelated.
So for me, so it's I'm struggling with this, guys. I'm torn between God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring, and I'll tell you why. I love the exploration in Elden Ring and the world more, and the exploration in Elden Ring made that game for me. I thought I just think it's absolutely the best exploration design in gaming, like period. Like how they've done that was phenomenal. The world incentivizes you to explore. The way itemization itemization in that game is second to none. How items are placed and located to reward exploration in a perfect way. They're not too sparse where if you were to remove all the, like, for example, Extra Life made a great video where he made a point that if you were to get all the items, all the locations on the map of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and remove them, and you just wanted to explore the world naturally and come across things, you'd come across virtually nothing because the world's so big and relatively, even though there's a lot of icons, the world doesn't lead you to these items. They're just randomly placed, and so it wouldn't reward that kind of exploration. You need the icons to find the items, whereas with Elden Ring, you don't. And that, to me, puts Elden Ring's world design to a huge status level in my opinion of what it's achieved.
Here's what was my problem with Elden Ring, right? For the most part, you would find a boss, right? But as far as what you found in the world, there was a lot of items, and 99% of them were completely useless. So you'd go through a whole dungeon, and then they'd give you like a Sylph Rose or something stupid like that. And the Sylph Rose doesn't do anything. You can combine it to make something that you can throw at a boss maybe. And that thing is also worthless. Or you'd find some armor. It's pretty much too heavy for you to actually put on. So
that's for me. That armor can be used later, and it rewards different builds. Like you can respec your character and try out hundreds of builds and experiment and role play. And I just think that's, for me, it's definitely different strokes for different folks. I hear you, but I definitely think Elden Ring stands above the vast majority of games when it comes to rewarding exploration and itemization and experimentation in game in the way you play a game. However, God of War Ragnarok, its story and the story beats, the moment to moment story beats, have me gripped like no other. Honestly, like, it's absolutely incredible. And I'm at a point now where, just as I thought, it's a little stagnant at the moment, like I'm not, because I was spending too much time on side content. I keep making that mistake, guys, because now it's ramping up and I am well excited. I'm well excited to get back into it. I want to do an all-nighter. I can't, but I want to, because I freaking want to play that game. The story, man, the way Kratos is designed as a character and characterization in that game, the way you care about characters and grow to appreciate characters, it's on a whole different level, and it just blows everything that other games have done this year for me out of the water in terms of story design. I think in terms of exploration / itemization and narrative, if you were to kind of combine the two, Horizon Forbidden West is a good all-rounder. I do think, especially with the graphics as well, and turning everything off, the HUD off, and tweaking with the settings to create an experience tailored to you. Like for me, I have enemies easy to kill, but I have myself easy to kill as well. So I have enemy damage very high and damage to enemies very high. So it creates this risk and reward gameplay, and I have all the HUD off, and it's just an amazing experience like that for me. But I do think that ultimately, I've not completed Ragnarok yet, but if it's going in the way I think it's going, and it continues to build as others have confirmed it does, I think Ragnarok will seal the deal for me as the game of the year. But it is between Elden Ring and Ragnarok for me, and I'm leaning towards Ragnarok in that department. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, without giving anything away. Das Messi says I'm using a runic build. Yeah, there's good build diversity in Ragnarok as well. It's not super in depth, but it's in depth enough to have experimentation stuff. And yeah, guys, I'm sorry we couldn't talk about it much else, but because of time constraints. But I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Das Messi, Sammy Odyssey, Compost Smurf, Nightmares, Josh Ayres, Bram, Volky, Thankyou, even you, what's his face, Aaron _, even you, pal. Thanks for your input. We appreciate you.
His takes were trash.
His takes were trash. His takes were trash.
I didn't appreciate it.
Appreciate him being here to incentivize conversation.
No, I appreciate everybody else. Every single body else, apart from that one person.
I love it. He's just trolling. Aaron, same with you, Aaron. Without the underscore, get on the sticks. Big Mofo, all of you guys. Jesus, Jamie Mather, my dude, Joey, Gutierrez, Seattle Chef. Oh, honestly, I could just go on and on and on. You all know your legends. Sergeant, shout out to you as well. Mary. Anyway, you get the idea. Appreciate all of you. Get on the sticks, bro. Listen, I just want to say, we haven't had enough talk tonight because we've had so much to say throughout the panel. But what you have said is so freaking good, and you've come out with some absolute nuggets, bro. Like, quote this, make this a quote kind of moments. And I just want to say thank you for your amazing input. I hope it's been a stimulating convo, and I hope you've enjoyed your time on the show. And I really hope we can get you on the Worldwide Company of Gamers podcast as well. If ever you would consider coming on, it would be an honor. And I hope,
definitely, man. You guys just let me know. I'll be around these gaming streets. And thank you for the high praise and for having me on, man. I appreciate you.
He's so chill, bro. I love this guy. No, I appreciate you too, man. It's been great. We'll have to get that arranged. And Retro, thank you to you, bro. Love you as always, Mucker, and thanks for being on the show.
Problem, man. You know I would miss it.
I hope. Has it been a good convo tonight, guys? Have you all enjoyed it?
Fantastic. Very insightful. A lot of accents for me to learn, pick up, and use in the future. Just definitely a great place.
Yeah, big facts. I think it's been a treasure trove of knowledge tonight. Like, a lot of insight being brought to the table for me to listen to again. And go back and make notes. But yeah, I've loved it. Thank you everyone for all your support.
I just love how diverse this show is, bro.
Pardon?
There's such a diverse group. I just love how diverse the group is, man. Yeah. There's so many different people from different walks of life, so we get a good mix of views.
I definitely want to get Sticks on again soon. I think there's a lot more to this guy to
definitely
to uncover, and I think he has a lot more to say. So I hope you've enjoyed it, everyone in the chat. Hope it's been a good show. I know we've mostly focused on just one topic, but I tell you what, we've milked that bad boy, haven't we? And I think we needed to, because I think there's a lot of FUD going round, a lot of from people who should know better, who are primary spokespersons in the community that people listen to, and they're completely missing the mark when it comes to what they should be considering and thinking about. And also, like, misinformation as well, outright misinformation about what Microsoft will do when they don't play nice, because right now they are doing, and how Jim is evil when he's just doing everything he should be doing as a CEO. Everything he should be doing, he's doing, and he's doing effectively, and somehow that makes him weak. I just can't get my head around it. But it's not about, defending these CEOs. It's about the industry and what impact decisions individual CEOs, but also companies that they run, make, and their impact on the industry. And for me, I'll just summarize it like this: one CEO seems to support the industry and gets a whole load of shit for it because he invests in the industry. He invested in 2017. He told Shuye, go and invest in indie studios. Let's make indie studios great. Let's do whatever we can. And then in 2022, we read that they're doubling down on that program after countless awards and shouts of praise from indie developers from towards Shuya and Sony and PlayStation, from China Hero Project to also PlayStation Talents, which is in Spain, which is basically the equivalent of China Hero Project, but in Spain. They're expanding that initiative to continue to grow the industry. That's growth. That's not consolidation. That's not buying shit. That's funding shit and supporting shit. Whereas all I've seen from Microsoft up to now is an ardent like aggressive push to buy everything when they haven't really got a legacy that shows they've supported the industry and they continue to contribute to the industry. All they seem to do is take and reshuffle and move the furniture around. And it for me, that kind of company just shouldn't get their hands on the gem. You know, it's throwing pearls to swine. You shouldn't get your hands on the goods when you've proven that you've not been competent with what you've got. And that's just my opinion. But why Phil gets all the praise and Jim gets all the shit from the media, I don't know. It baffles my mind, but it is what it is.
Yeah, just outside of a implicit Western bias, it's very much, you know, an ignorance thing, man. I can't tell you. It's the same reason why people believe politicians when they tell them outright lies. As long as they tell them the lies in the way that they want to hear them, it doesn't matter if the results actually come back because the other person isn't telling them what they want to hear. In this case, Nintendo doesn't tell you anything. Jim Ryan, you know, he's pretty hardline about telling you the truth, whether or not you want to hear it. And then you got this guy who plays the good guy out of the big three. And so the media is gravitated towards him. But also because he's probably sending them fucking Surface tablets or some bullshit like that to type their reports on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Yeah, hit the nail on the head. So guys, as for this giveaway, before we close, just picking random names here, as a what's the word? As winners, I guess you could say, as winners of the giveaway. I'm trying to find. For some reason, names completely gone from my head. I don't know why. I'm just looking for names now. Oh man, I need to get better at this at giveaways.
Josh.
Okay, shout one, Josh.
That's just the first name that came to my head there.
All right, Josh Ayres. Josh Ayres, congratulations, brother. Are you UK or are you US? Let me know. And Cryptopsy, is that a word? Cryptopsy and Josh, shout out to you two. You've won 25 each, so if you I'm sorry guys, we'll get better at this. If you want a PSN voucher of 25 US or UK, I know that both of you posted your favorite indies in the chat, so yeah, congratulations to you guys. Let's contact me on Twitter if you have Twitter. If you don't, just comment in the comments below. Tag me with your region. Let me know where you're at, and I'll send you those codes. But yeah, buy yourself an indie game with that, folks. That was the whole point. Treat yourself to an indie game. I would recommend Recompile, the game Recompile, I think it's called. It's a good indie game. But there's others. Enjoy. And I'm sorry to those who didn't manage to win, but you know this show, we do giveaways often, and I'll conjure up a better way to do them in the future.
We need that spinny wheel thing, man.
We do. We are a fledgling show, so to speak. And I'm still learning, guys. I'm doing bear with me. But I appreciate it, everyone. You're all legends. So yeah, and on that note, guys, I'll say it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Shout out to all of you in the chat. Thank you to the panel. Remember, don't be a donut. Use your noggin. Love you all. GG. Peace.
But don't use Woolies because it's massive.
You're such a
Did I
dick.
get that in?